I'm chatting to Liam O'Toole, an organic tillage farmer in transition who farms outside of Wicklow in County Wicklow. Liam, why organic?
Three reasons, I suppose. The first one would be my friend, my ex-tillage advisor. He switched from that to organic specialist, and I used to listen to him talking about the figures and probably latched on to that. There's a lot of less work, labour intensive, less work in the field, where you plough, put your crop in, and basically you come back with the combine and cut your crop. Then for environmental reasons, less fertiliser. Going back to the old times really, where you'd put your farmyard manure out, slurry, and less chemical. And socially then, I'm freeing up more time for my family, my partner, and more time for holidays and stuff like that. I'm still conventional, but I'm cutting back on that. So in the last 3 years, or 2 years, I actually had already cut back on chemical and fertiliser and cutting back more and more. So I was nearly organic anyway. Chopping straw, I have a heap of straw here going back from 5 years ago, and I keep adding to it. So I had a massive pile of dung here that I only spread this year. A local contractor came in, and less chemical, less compound, and going back to the old way of doing it.
I sense though you're operating from a very strong base. I'm looking around, I mean your soils are amazing.
They're a lovely light clay, no marl, lovely free draining farm. So you can come out here, plough in January and sow, obviously weather permitting. Like this crop here is HE gold corn. We saw this in the 15th of November. Difficult times, you know what I mean? A lot of rain, hard to get out on the land. So where I can get out, other guys are sitting in the shed. We're lucky just where the farm is sitting here.
And how big a driver is rotation for the business that you're operating at the moment?
I suppose it's something that I'm already looking into next year and the year after to plan my crops going forward, because if I keep growing the same crop, it's just not going to work. So last year I had oats, this year I'm going to be sowing wheat, and next year possibly barley, just to keep the rotation going. And then obviously looking at the weed pressure, will I go into growing some red clover to try and put nitrogen back in the soil to keep my soil health high and productive, you know. So what I am doing is I'm importing lots of slurry, up to 3,000 gallons per acre, and farmyard dung as well, and to mix with the straw. So I had a massive heap of straw and I was putting dung on top of it to make it break down. So and then hen poultry manure, which is a pelletized hen manure, and it's a little bit expensive. It needs to be brought back a bit, but it's fantastic source of nitrogen as well, and P and K.
I also see you're using cover crops as part of the rotation.
That's right. Another essential, critical. The problem is getting in with the cover crop early enough, but I'm working on that. I'm going to start putting the cover crops in before the crop is cut, just to get it off to an early start. Because it's just you have to get it in early, like to get the kind of cover crop I have there. I was on the last hour with this particular cover crop, but I still did well. There's some volunteer oat on that, but I went out with the sower and we put out more oats as well, just to get plough it down for fertiliser. This is a winter crop here, winter wheat, and I'm going to have spring wheat next door, and with some legume bean and wheat as a combi crop on fully simple organic ground up the top of the farm, which is fully organic.
You referenced the fact that you're an organic farmer in transition. What does that mean?
Well, the first year you have to be farming organic for 2 years before you're fully organic into your third year. The good thing is the second year I can produce wheat, barley, combi crop. The second year I can sell it to a dairy farmer, a beef farmer, or a sheep man for organic feed for his cows. The third year then I'm fully organic, so I can sell it to the likes of Flahavan Oats or whoever.
Given your experience of the past 2 years, would you endorse organic tillage as an opportunity, a way forward for other conventional tillage farmers?
Well, everybody has their own show, you know, but what suits me for time, this has freed up a lot of time for me. The environment, I'm putting out natural fertilizers, and socially then I'm just have a lot more time for the social life, you know. So to advise anybody, if that's what they're looking to do, definitely.
There's been a lot of discussion over recent weeks concerning the actual carbon footprint that's being achieved by conventional tillage farmers, to the extent that we're hearing that conventional tillage is, to all intents and purposes now, achieving net carbon zero. Have you carbon footprinted this farm?
Definitely.
And how does organic stack up in that specific sense?
The time spent on the land and the chemical and the fertiliser, I suppose that's all reduced. Zero chemical fertiliser, zero chemicals, full stop, going out in the sprayer. That's a massive, not only the cost of it, but the impact on the environment is savage. It's dropped, you could say, to net zero.
And you're also incorporating straw?
That's right.
Is that across the farm or just on selected fields?
Everywhere I possibly can, but on this farm I've been chopping for the last 4 years. Even, as I said earlier, before I went organic, I was chopping straw and I was starting to build up. I was actually heading this direction without any advice from anybody. I was heading towards organic. Because of the price of inputs, I was cutting back and cutting back and cutting back. And I got to see that it does actually work.
Martin, what is the potential for organic tillage in Ireland?
Okay, well, Richard, currently we're at about 4,500 hectares. As you may have seen in the recent feed estimate survey, there's scope for 50,000 plus tonnes of animal feed. So I suppose if we do the maths very quickly, a 4 or 5 tonne crop per hectare, we're only going to be able to produce at the very, very most maybe 20,000 tonnes. So we're maybe 60% deficit there in terms of what's required in the market at the moment. So we could certainly double the area under organic tillage at the minute and still not quite hit the market what's there. And if we think forward a few years, what's been happening, obviously, there was 2,000 new farmers came in last year, 1,000 just before Christmas, and we anticipate maybe if it climbs to maybe 1,000 over the next, say, 2 to 3 years. Well, my reading of it would be that every time 1,000 farmers comes in, there's maybe another potentially 10,000 tonne of feed required. So I would say if we hit the target by 2030 of 10% farmers farming organically, or 10% of the area, I should say, farmed organically in Ireland, I would estimate we'd need about 20,000 hectares of organic tillage. So that's quite sizable.
Yeah. So what would be driving the growth? Is it the support that's available from the government, or is it the price enhanced price that's available for the grain?
Both. I would say what caught the attention certainly was the attractive payment rates that were announced there in July 2022, when the new payment rates were announced. And a tillage farmer converting to organic in the first 2 years of conversion will get €320 a hectare of a payment. And then after that, in years 3 to 5, when their land becomes full symbol, they'll get €270 a hectare. So for example, a 30-hectare farm could pull in just over 50,000 over that 5-year period. So that's the first thing I would say is certainly government support, extra percentage TAMS funding, 60% TAMS funding for organic farmers as well is very attractive. So certainly the support is there. The next thing then is, you've mentioned, is the premium there? At the moment, certainly it is. So organic feed, organic cereal, organic combination crops, pea and beans, all that kind of feed is fetching €400 a tonne plus at the moment. And that's out of the field. So there is another industry then, there's people selling into the organic feed market who are drying it or bagging it, rolling it, adding propionic acid, and a lot of handling, and then selling it in small amounts to the customers, predominantly in the west of Ireland. And €650 a tonne plus is what they're getting. So they're adding value as well.